Oh, that pesky Jackson, all his shenanigans in the bar. Yeah.
I don't know. It was some sort of like, and then the Marines came in with their swords. Or, I don't know. Some you tell stories that are great. Go time. Go time.
Oh, it's go time. Welcome to the battlefield, to the boardroom. You are here with Philip Folsom of the Wolf Tribe and Colonel Garth Massey of the Command Ready. And today we have our 10-minute talk on tactics, but not two tips. Today we're going to talk about some war stories. We're going to talk about things that have changed mindset, or kind of a favorite tale about the way we think about the world or interact with it from the past. I don't have any cool graphics for that. Good morning.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. I love your war stories. I don't know anybody who has had not only just practical war stories, you know, like the artillery going by you the other way, and you've got so many great actual war stories, but you also have a tremendous understanding of historical war stories. And kind of as a history guy myself, I mean, I love hearing whatever your stories are about stuff. So excited about this one.
This is going to be fun. All right, man. So break it down for me. What is one cool story about how a honor-based society or a group or a company, did a thing? What's your thing, man? Lay it on me.
Okay. Well, I will start by just prefacing that our current society does not work very well in a number of ways. And you can just see examples of that with all the rise in addiction and anxiety and suicide and depression, homelessness. Geez, and I live in Venice Beach, so it's just, we're drowning in homeless. So a lot of wisdom and best practices, I think, can be gained by looking back at some of the time-tested stuff that used to work for us, and we have kind of abandoned in our quest for growth and comfort and success, air quotes. So I got to study some of the ancient warrior cultures from all around the globe. And I got to study Budo culture in Japan, which is really interesting. And the Maasai, and even a lot of the European martial systems, which are complex and amazing. But North America has some of the most wonderful warrior reintegration rituals that we have studied, and they're so good for my guess. Most of the people who are tuning in to watch you and I are probably military, first responders, people who have experienced trauma. And we do have these wonderful time-tested ways to bring men and women back from high trauma fields. And that involves the transition from a mission-oriented sensibility, which is where we're hyper-vigilant, we don't sleep a lot, we don't trust things a lot, we're a pretty hair trigger in terms of action. And those are perfect adaptations for when you have to go do traumatic, dangerous things. However, those do not work well when we return back to our civilian world, where we're husbands and we're wives and we're fathers and sons. So the ability to transition back to from a war-based operation stance is a really important piece. And so the Native Americans had some of these wonderful rituals that are involved. And one of them was the recognition that you're different when you come back. We're different. These events alter us. And in fact, they should transform us. So the vision quest was a really important thing that warriors would do once they returned from doing something that was traumatic. And the community, the tribe, recognized that there was a little piece of their soul that was either broken or missing, and they had to go reclaim that, as well as a new identity. So then they returned to the tribe, they were bringing this new wisdom and perspective back. Just a beautiful way of welcoming the warriors home. And they also recognized that there was something that was altered in their perspective, and it was sometimes about the need for purification. And this is echoed through all of our warrior reintegration history. We say Hail Marys, we go on pilgrimages, we do whatever we have to do after war so we can get clean again. So the sweat lodge was a Native American ritual where they would go in and they would have elders bless you, absolve you, and now you're ready to return back to the tribe with new wisdom, new information, and your full integrated power. So those are things I believe that would benefit all of us in this current world by looking back at what is your new role? How do we find your new vision and way to serve? And then how do we get clean again so that we can step back into society? So those are a couple of my very favorite examples of history and warriors. And listen, you and I both work with big corporations and work teams. They're all looking for mission-based men and women who are honorable, who understand how to work together. Like, we need our warriors back in society desperately. So there's a lot of ways to do that better.
Well, those rituals are cool. I did a lot of scouting growing up, and I've been in the sweat lodge or two, and it is very transformative. And I think the micro version of that is just sitting around a campfire and telling stories. Like we force events when we sit around campfires. Oh, we have to make s'mores. We have to cook a hot dog. We have to play a guitar, right? But telling stories is a lost art, because when you're sitting around the fire, that's an opportunity to really connect. So, but the story I want to bring today is actually one of determination and sort of how our mindset can shape our actions, and the need of leaders to shape that environment by setting that mindset. So the tale I would like to tell you is about the Battle of Malta. It's called the Great Siege. And it happened in the 1500s, like 1560s. And it arguably is one of three huge pivotal battles that protected Western civilization from the Persians. The first would be like the Battle of Marathon, then the Battle of Thermopylae, and then the Battle of Malta. And essentially, Suleiman the Great decided after a lifetime of conquest in his 70s that the island of Malta had to fall. The Knights of St. John, the Knights of Malta, lived in this kind of pivotal spot in the middle of the Mediterranean between like Sicily and Libya. And on their island, they could essentially pirate all the Turkish trade, the Ottoman Empire trade. And so, his advisors got to Suleiman and said, hey, your empire is great. Let's go crush it. Suleiman decided, yep, sure, let's do that. Let's take down these knights. They've pirated our people too long. And they prepped for a year, and they sent a fleet, arguably, some say 30, but some say 60,000 soldiers to go to the island of Malta and just crush them. And then there's a long story leading up to the Knights, but essentially they had this grandmaster named Lavalette, who was also 70 years old, who'd lived as a slaver rowing in the rowing ships for several years, who'd been a pirate, who escaped that, who came back and took over. And the long and short of the story is they never should have survived. I mean, we were talking about 200 knights, maybe 7,000 Spanish soldiers, and then the locals, the residents of Malta. And Lavalette, feeling that he had to properly defend his island, had been building up the resources and building up the defenses for years. And they got to this place, and Suleiman's advisor said, our Turkish army will be able to crush this island in about 3 days. And out of things like preservation of resources and a personal sense of pride and a desire for flair, and because the generals were arguing, they attacked the island in the wrong order. Like, instead of going to the natural first fort, being able to park their fleet and attacking through, they went down to the other end of the island, and they attacked a fort called St. Elmo. And they predicted that St. Elmo would fall within 3 days. And I don't want to go too far into the story. You should check it out. But it didn't fall in 3 days. It lasted 31 days. And at the time, you had to be able to get your attacks done over the course of the summer, or the storms would come up and your fleet would get sunk. So they only had the summer. They lost just over a month taking St. Elmo before they even began to move on to the next stage of the attack. And the lesson was this: throughout the entire attack, the soldiers in St. Elmo would send messengers back to Lavalette and say, we can't hold any longer. We're done. Like, we're not going to be able to stand another day. And he just would send them reinforcements, and more knights would volunteer to go into what was essentially their death sentence. And the message he was sending them more and more was, no, we're going to defend. We have to stand every post until the end. And then as things got more and more dire, like there were no more walls, the ditches were all filled with dirt and bodies and they were getting pummeled every day. You couldn't expose yourself or you'd get shot. The more that happened, the more the Knights got frustrated because their position was falling apart. And they finally sent him a letter. And in the letter, they said, look, we've done the best we can. We've lasted as long as we can. And tomorrow we're going to sally forth and we're going to lead a glorious charge into battle. And we're going to die on our terms, right? Like all of us. We want to do it our way. But La Valette had a different battle plan. And that was like day 14. And he wrote them back a note and said, you are not allowed to charge forward. You will stay behind the defenses. You will fight the good fight. We're going to send you more reinforcements until we can't. And you have to stay. And to do anything less than follow these orders would bring dishonor to you and the order. And so essentially he chastised these young knights who had been for 2 weeks living under constant attack. And he told them, stick to it, stay in the fight. You don't get to just rush forward and like exude pride or die on your terms. You have to stick with the plan because the plan saves us all and the plan saves all of Europe. You serving yourself does not save the plan. And so these guys being a little bit admonished. Oh, and he said, hey, I'll send over these other guys. We'll allow you to retreat. We'll put real warriors there to fight.
Ooh.
Right. Just, dagger to the heart, right? So especially in that sort of medieval knight culture and the very, very honor-based system, they were like, nope, don't send the retreat. We'll do the battle. We'll fight to our deaths. We'll show you who's a tough guy. And that's what they did. That was day 14. They lasted another 2 weeks. After saying we can't stand another day, they went 2 more weeks. And it's impossible in this short format to describe just how insane that fight was. But they stayed and they fought. And eventually they lost St. Elmo. Then the battle moved on and it lasted for another 3 months. And every single stage had to be fought to the dire end. And at one point, like many a good war story, there were 2 castles connected by pontoon boats and they burned all the boats. And the message was, no one's coming to reinforce you. No one can help you. You stay there and you fight until we win or you die. Anyway, all of that is just to say the mindset matters a lot. And it matters a lot in an organization that understands its strategy. If you know the why, if you know the purpose, if you understand the larger strategy, the internal needs, the self-preservation, the desire for your own glorification can be tamped down because you're working towards a greater goal, a bigger thing. And we see that occasionally. Sometimes a company will have something so cool, something so good, something so helpful that it tamps down all the individual needs to achieve something greater. And it doesn't happen all the time and it doesn't last forever. But man, when you see that, get on board because you can do something great. You can like SpaceX, you focus on, we're going to be on Mars. All this other stuff gets us there. Or JPL, putting their robots up on Mars. The big organizational why, the big purpose allows you to fight down every bit of pride you got for the individual purpose. And in a world or a place where companies need to do big things to truly be effective, I think that's a powerful thing. So check it out. It's called The Great Siege, and it's about the Battle of Malta.
Really good, man. Wonderful.
That's it. That's today. Today's short, 2 stories. I hope those are interesting. If you're not reading, if you're not studying, if you're not doing something, start. Like if you think that the 4 years of college or 4 years of high school was enough to last you the 40 years that you're going to be in the workforce, you are woefully mistaken. So it's great if you've listened this far. And if you have made it this far, start checking out a program. Get yourself into an accountability group. We got the Wolf Tribe and the Men's K4 group, worth checking out. If you are a man and you want to reconnect to your purpose stuff, that's where Philip and his group, it's hundreds now, right? I mean, there are hundreds of men who participate in this.
And hey, we're actually just opened up the applications for cohort 5 of the Rite of Passage. So k4men.com. If you're a man or no man who's committed to growth and service, then we got a community for you.
Yeah. And if you're ready for something really big, if you want to learn leadership by doing leadership, Forged. This thing has taken off. We got the books are ready to be sent to you. It is 200 pages of just delicious goodness.
Wow.
Every day you got to do something that matters. Every day you've got to think and do things with intentionality for 12 weeks. So check out forgedin84.com. You have to sign up in a group. You can't do this thing by yourself. You got to go through with a group of 4.
Much like the Knights of Malta.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we fight together. We have to be accountable to the bigger picture. Check it out. And that is it. Battlefield to the Boardroom. Happy week. Go do something that matters and look for a larger purpose. Connect.
Do not abandon your post.
No. Whatever it is, stay. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. See y'all. Dude, I know people can't be listening in on all this stuff.